we're going to go ahead and start with introductions and get everyone to know each other. And I think I had a question on there today, which I always try to include. Please introduce yourself with your name and where you work, and then answer what the word community means to you. What does the word community mean? What does that entail? How does that look like to you? Who would like to go first? Linda, let's go with Linda.
I'll always volunteer. Just one of those. My name is Linda Burnett, and I'm a Child Protective Investigator Supervisor for Department of Children and Families. I am over Unit 849 in Highlands County. And when I saw the question of what does community mean for me, there were things that just bolted, just came at me. And for me, community means the thing that comes to mind to me is the pooling of resources. And I know that those resources can be material or financial or even just energy or emotional resources. But for me, community is any time that have like-minded people gathering together, the pooling of whatever resources they happen to have to bring to the table, and to accomplish a common good.
Common good, yes, thank you. I don't know if it's just me, but your sound was going out and in a little bit, in and out. Okay, well, thank you, Linda. And thank you for joining us today. I know this is your first meeting, so we're very excited to have you.
Yes, I'm actually sitting in for Amanda Wilson, and would love to come back more, but I'm sitting in for her for the time being.
Okay, that sounds good. Thank you. All right, Natasha, I think you had your hand up too. You want to go next?
Sure. I'm Natasha Lambright. I'm the community specialist with Volunteers of America here in Sebring. Community, I didn't have time to really prepare an answer, but I guess off the top of my head, it's the first thing that comes to mind is it's for the whole community and for, everyone in the town or the county to come together and work together, like Linda had said, towards a common goal to help those that are in need and those that are looking for resources.
Great, yes. Kadian?
I was going to take another minute to think about it.
Nope.
All right. Well, my name is Kadian Parchment. I'm with Heartland for Children. I'm the resiliency coordinator for Heartland now. And to me, community is everyone doing their part to make the whole better. So how do I belong? How do I feel like I belong? That's that diversity and inclusion that makes community great. So I don't know, I guess that's what I could think of off the top of my head.
Very nice, thank you. Sarah Beth?
Hey guys, I'm Sarah Beth from the Children's Advocacy Center in Highlands County, and I think community can mean a lot of things, but one of the wonderful things about it is it's almost a feeling of fellowship, of like-minded and individuals who kind of are working towards the same goal. So, this is our Hope for Highlands is a small community within the community of Highlands County. So it's anything that makes us similar, and it's a good feeling to be a part of a community.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sarah Beth. Darlene, you had your hand up.
Yes, I'm Darlene Dick. I'm social worker with the school board for Highlands County. I just want to reiterate what a lot of others have already said to me. It's a group of people coming together for a common cause.
Sounds good. Thank you. Stephanie.
Hi, my name is Stephanie Dow. I work with the anti-trafficking team with One More Child at the Florida Baptist Children's Home, and we serve Polk, Highlands, and Hardy County. And community means to me quality over quantity and holistic care. So meeting people's needs wherever to be a whole person and to get that support, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, all those needs. So
Yes, you mentioned all of the good stuff within it. That's great. Thank you. Tina.
I'm Tina Harmon with CARD USF, the Center of Autism and Related Disabilities. I service all ages, from the little ones all the way through the end of life. Community is people finding a place to belong.
I love that, Tina. That was very nice put. Yes, absolutely. Vicky.
Hi, I'm Vicky with the libraries. Community to me is different people from different backgrounds, beliefs, religions coming together to meet everyone's needs within the community.
Very nice, Vicky. Thank you. Victor.
Hi, good morning, everybody. How are you? My name is Victor Garcia. I'm a family advocate, victims advocate for the Children's Advocacy Center. And more in line with what everybody's been saying, community for me, it's a family of citizens that bands together with a common goal and vision for the greater good for their place to live.
Very nice, Victor. And thank you for joining us today. I haven't seen you for a while. Michelle.
Hello. How are
Hey.
you?
Good. Michelle, did you hear the question we asked?
I didn't. I just was able to get logged on. What did I miss?
Okay, so introduce yourself, your name and where you work, and then what the word community means to you.
All right. My name is Michelle Caffey. I'm with the Heartland Rural Health Network. I'm one of the senior health educators for the IMAD program. And community to me is where everyone can come together and not only stand as individuals, but also as allies to each other as humans.
Very nice. Thank you, Michelle. All right, you guys are jumping around. Miss Rogers.
Hi, I'm Amberly Rogers. I am Sarah Beth's mom, but I work at Lakeview Christian School in Lake Placid. And I guess I would say what most of you are saying, that community is a group of people that support one another and care for individual needs so everyone can be successful.
Very nice. And thank you for joining us today.
Thanks for inviting me.
Absolutely. And then we have Marissa.
Anna, you're going to have to repeat the question because I wasn't on.
No problem at all. Name, where you work, and define community. What does that mean to you, the word community?
Good question. I'm Marissa Stam. I'm the Executive Director of Salumpta Family Project, and I sit on the Children's Services Council of Highlands County. I think community ultimately is relationships. I mean, it can be a place, right? It can be a physical place of where you live and the things and the buildings around you. But I think ultimately it is people and the relationships that you have with those people.
Wonderful. Yes, absolutely. I saw my team and then they kind of disappeared. Oh, there they are.
Here we are.
There you are.
This is CJ Wingate. I'm now permanently ensconced into the Family Resource Center here at the Circle Theater. And community means I look out and I see people active on the circle, and it brings me happiness when I see that it's thriving, it's family. So go ahead, Chris. Oh, Martha.
Hi, I'm Martha Bing, and I'm a volunteer at the Family Resource Center. And community means all of us together for the common goal of happiness and well-being for everyone.
And my name is Carissa Marine. I'm the CEO of the Champion for Children Foundation, also down here at the Circle Theater this morning. And community is people supporting each other in unity.
Very nice. Yes. And my name is Anna Richard, and I work for the Champion for Children Foundation as well. And community to me means really everything. It's entailed in everything that we do, and we're part of so many different communities. If it's our church community, or school community, or work community, or if it's bound by land, if it's Highlands community, it does not matter, but we are connected with so many within our communities that it is really important what happens within those communities. And the quote that I put on today's agenda says, "The greatness of a community is most accurately measured by the compassionate actions of its members." So, and the reason why I kind of brought that up is because one of the things that I've been focusing our guidebook on, that we're going to be talking a little bit about today, is what it means to be a community, what it means to be part of Highlands community. So that's why I tied that into today's intro. So to start off today, and I know we haven't seen each other for a while because we had our kickoff event, I believe it was August 25th. And then we had 2 canceled meetings, so we didn't see each other in September at all. So it's been 2 months since we actually had a meeting. So I'm quickly going to go through the minutes and then we'll move on from there. So the last meeting we had was actually on August 11th. And we had 15 attendees. And we talked about the beginning of the strategic plan coming together, and that we're going to do it in the guidebook format. This guidebook, you guys, will also be used as a training tool and a resource guide for our community. So we're going to definitely focus more on that part today. We had also talked about the Wisdom of Trauma documentary that was broadcasted again for the last meeting, and then I sent out, for last week that it was broadcasting again. So we'll kind of touch bases on that and see who might have been able to watch it this time around. And then we had mentioned about the resilience documentary, Train a Trainer, that we had 12 people go through, and plus one, which I love because Farouk stated that one of the coffee shop staffs had paid attention and said that it was really eye-opening for him. So I love that Farouk was able to share that with us. And then we talked more about our training list last time and how to get signed up for trainings and how to get our community involved a little bit in that. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. And of course, we spent the rest of the time to get ready for our Hope for Highlands kickoff event. And then we ended that meeting fairly early last time. Any questions on what we did last meeting or from the meeting minutes? Okay. So today, you guys, let me get my cheat sheet. I know that we also had, since last time, our presentation to the commissioners, Board of County Commissioners. And I would love to hear a couple things from that. I don't know if anyone were able to see it online or hear anything about it. But Hope for Highlands were able to present about Hope for Highlands to our county commissioners. And then Marissa and April did a fantastic job representing about Children's Services Council and the need for foster parents, for example. So Marissa, would you like, I just want to kudos for Marissa because she's such an excellent speaker. And the Highlands News Sun wrote such a great article from that event. And Marissa, do you want to just mention a little bit what had been said, or if anything happened from that meeting on your end of things?
Sure. The article was a surprise. We didn't know that was going to happen. It actually came out, I think, a week or two after we had actually presented to the BOCC. So it's just kind of, it's encouraging, I think, to see these pieces kind of laying out, right? So we had the opportunity to present, the article was published, then we had the kickoff. And so obviously, you know, we're talking about some pretty significant change, some pretty significant shifts in our community and in our culture. And in doing that, it takes time. But it does feel like we have some stepping stones that are being laid out along the way that I think serve as an encouragement. And so I'm really excited that we're back together today, because I want to see that momentum continue. And see, okay, you know, we've had this opportunity and this opportunity and this opportunity, now what, right? I don't want us to just be comfortable in what we've accomplished so far and what we've been able to be a part of, but I think we have to consistently be moving forward and have that strategic plan in place of, okay, this was great, where do we go from here? So I'm eager to enter into that conversation of, you know, we've had some wins, but now what's next?
I'm glad that you're excited. That's awesome. All right, so yes, it was a great presentation, and I think the county commissioners really kind of understood what Hope for Highlands is and what we're trying to accomplish. So that's exciting that they're on board. And I think we had, Carissa, if you could, or someone was at Hope for Highlands, I think we had 3 of the commissioners there. Or was there more? Was it 3? I mean, I'll take it.
Go ahead.
I think we've had at least 2 or 3. Trying to think who the third one was, but okay. We had only several. I know at least 2 of our commissioners were there, but we also had our tax collector was there, Dr. Longshore was there. So we had several representatives who are also, a few of those are on the Children's Services Council as well, but just leaders in the community who are the ones who can take this to their teams. So it was overall pretty representation for the county.
Yes, I felt it was great. And the event, you guys, first of all, thank you all that was there and participated, and especially to our speakers and everyone that helped out. Our speakers was Sarah Beth, for example, she was there, and Marissa and Kadian. So, I mean, I only heard really good things about our kickoff event. I think it was great for our community to actually have that, to come together and feel the love and compassion that's happening. And I agree with Marissa. Let's move forward. I mean, what a great opportunity to really kind of ride that wave and continue this. So any feedback from that kickoff event, you guys, that you want to share?
I think it was great, and the whole setup was amazing. The vendors who were in place, the flow of it, the little skit, and the starfish everywhere. I think it just all came together really well. The location was a great location too, I think. And of course, the most important part was the cotton candy. So kudos to you guys for doing a good job.
Thank you.
It was neat to see how it tied in, not only with Hope for Highlands, but really the essence of what we're doing is getting this information at all levels out to the community. So for our community partners too, to come together and just reconnect in person, connect on some of the things that have changed or people that have changed in different partner agencies, really kind of helped even highlight the essence of what Hope for Highlands is. So we thank all of you who are sticking with us, even though Anna said it has been kickoff event helps support that, because now all of these different agencies who are involved in this work one way or another got that information firsthand, and then in front of the different, not just the leaders, but we had a handful of some of our families and clients that, but others who walked in, they were able to see that and experience it firsthand too. So it supported both of those purposes very well.
Yeah, I think it was a really, really neat event, and I would love to see it happen again. I think Amy Zwayer is the one that came up to me and said, it's like a job fair, but it's a care fair. Like, we want to help you. So it'd be cool to set up a couple more, or think about doing another care fair, with some featured speakers again, because I think the networking portions of the event were really impactful and important as well as the speakers. So I'd love to see another character.
Yeah, and I think, if we were to walk down that road, I think it would be really interesting too, to intentionally invite sectors who weren't there this last time, right? Because it was a lot of providers. It was a lot of people who were, again, it was that opportunity to kind of reorient, get to know who's engaged in what right now. How do we all hold hands and do this work together? And now how do we begin to bring in folks who don't sit on the Children's Services Council, who haven't heard us share before, and intentionally get them in the room and be able to share this messaging with them, be able to share resources with them, and then be able to, again, take those next steps of bringing what Hope for Highlands is all about, bringing trauma awareness into the greater community of Highlands County.
I'd like to interject this real quick. Talking about the subject here, they're having a family day Saturday the 16th, this Saturday at the mall, and it's for Highlands County. And I thought if somebody knew who was having that, I drove by the signs up on the side of the road off 27, and I'll check it again this afternoon when I go over there. I'll find out, but it's the banners up, and I mean it's supposed to be pretty good. That would be a good place if we could still get a table in there to share that information with families. So just out at you.
And I will say one of my favorite parts of that day was listening to Raven speak. And I think it's important for us to hear new voices. I mean, people have heard us talk all the time, but her new organization, just inviting grassroots organizations like that to be a part of this event, or like survivors, or like whomever, because I think her story was the most impactful of the day. And the thing that people are really going to take away and really make that connection with some of those other providers who are out there in the audience. I don't know what y'all think.
Yes, I fully agree. Yeah. And thank you, Carissa, for being our MC that day. And Kevin is not here, but he opened in prayer and he took part of our little starfish play. It was a lot of fun. So I think it came together beautifully. And I would love for us to do this once a year. I agree. We should have that as a goal to get it together. So we'll talk more about that later, but thank you for everyone's feedback. That was great to have you all there. And we actually had, I think it was 20 vendors that we ended up having that day. And that says a lot in COVID times that we want to come together as a community and be here for everyone. So that was wonderful. All right. So let's talk about the Wisdom of Trauma documentary rebroadcast that actually, if you have yet seen the movie, I think it is throughout today that you have a chance to watch it. Did anyone get to watch it this past week that haven't seen it before? No one.
I got to watch it.
All right. What did you think?
I got to watch it. It took me about 3 or 4 days to get it, but I was able to finish it today.
Okay. Any thoughts straight up?
Between your event that I was able to be a vendor at and watching that video, on a personal note, it's really opened my eyes to a whole new thing. Like I knew trauma was there. I've been affected. Everyone's been affected on some level, but to know how much it impacts your body and your life as a whole, it's just information I wasn't aware of. And I'm so thankful I was able to be a part of that and to watch that video and to just have a new way of looking at it, because working where I work and working with individuals all the time that are in need of services, it kind of helps me to look at them differently and to have a little bit more compassion And my hope is to be able to bring it to my entire team here at the office and to be able to start getting a part of those trainings and to make sure that we're all, remembering trauma and how it's affecting everyone that we deal with to better help them.
I got to watch the video again this time, and I think one of the coolest things about it is that it talks a little bit about offenders as well. And it, you have the whole scenes in the prison. And I think if there's anything that we've sometimes failed to have compassion for or consider is how a lot of times offenders have been offended on themselves. And so they have a whole history of trauma that I think sometimes is a little bit easier to discount just because of a terrible thing that they've done too. So that was interesting. I think I'm doing a training this week that talks a lot about offenders as well. And, I think anything that I've read that's consistent or heard that's consistent about that is like the vast majority of offenders have been offended on themselves and have their own source of trauma that hasn't been addressed yet. So I thought that was interesting that it took some time to address that in the video.
I love that you brought that up, Sarah Beth, because I think, like you said, it's very easy for us to just want to blame somebody and punish them and think that that's enough. And I think that that's where we get lost in the process and the real healing can't happen, right? Because if punishment worked, our jails wouldn't be full, right? So we can't be looking through the lens of punishment and retribution. It has to be through the lens of, okay, what happened to you and is healing possible, right? Because that's where the transformative work can happen, and that's where real change can take root. Whereas if it becomes just this authoritative punishment cycle, right, it will never get out of it. We haven't gotten out of it. We have to do something different. We have to do something different. And so approaching it differently, I think is really important. And I was at a SAC PBO meeting for one of my kids' schools, and we were talking to the teachers and the administrators, and they were overwhelmed, right? It's been a long first quarter. It's almost over, not quite, but it's been a long first quarter. And when you look at the trauma of our community in general, and then you layer COVID on top of it and everything that goes along with COVID, whether it is sickness, death, disruption in schedule, whether it's from contact tracing or, having to take time off, is it paid, is it not, all these things. We've ratcheted up the traumas. We're compounded. It's been compounded, particularly over the last 2 years. We've got the undercurrent of what has been there, and then we compound it with all the COVID related stuff. And so we were asking the teachers, we were asking the administrator, in order for you to be able to pour into your teachers the way you feel like you need to, so that they can best serve your students, what's your biggest obstacle right now? How can we help as a SAC PBO? And her answer was, our biggest obstacle is trauma. And this is a school that has not screened resilience yet. This is a school that has not, I think teachers have probably gone through the first aid course, what's it called?
Mental health first aid.
Mental health first aid. Yeah, mental health first aid. But has not taken additional steps in really talking as a school community about trauma. And so I found it very interesting that was her answer, right? And that was her realization that this is their biggest obstacle. And so I guess my question as a group of Hope for Highlands is, how can we really begin to meet people where they're at? Because I think doing our events and showcasing what's out there and having these are all great steps. And I think, again, it was an awesome event, and we should definitely do more. But where and how can we tangibly meet people where they're at, who maybe who didn't attend, who haven't heard the message yet, who again haven't seen a screening of resilience? What are some ways that as a community we can really begin to meet people where they're at, so that we can help them through this time and this realization of what's at the root of so many of our issues, right? Societal issues, community issues, really is trauma, and how we can begin to positively affect that.
Marissa, did either, as you had that conversation, did either you or that principal have any suggestions or just some ideas of ways that, one, as our Hope for Highlands community, but also just as a community, how we could to support them? Did she give any suggestions or needs?
Oh, Carissa, you know that I did. But like I'm saying, I think some of it is people are just overwhelmed. And so the idea of adding something else, right? The idea of hosting a training, the idea of all of that, it's one more thing. It feels very overwhelming, right? And even though it would probably be tremendously helpful, even though it may definitely move the needle or begin to turn the corner, the idea of layering that in is more than she was ready to step into in that moment. And so that's where I'm saying, like, what are some ways that we can be very intentional of literally meeting people where they're at, not layering more on. And I don't have the answer. I absolutely do not have the answer. That's why I'm putting it out and asking. But I think it's something that we have to be aware of, because it's the people in the trenches that I feel like we really need to be able to reach most effectively, you know, and particularly those people who are leading others, right? People of influence who are leading others, people who are directly serving children and families, whether that's in the schools, whether that's in healthcare, whether that's in child services, whether that's in case management, you know, and serving them first. It's like when you're on a plane, right? Like, what do they tell you? You got to put your mask on before you put the mask on the child next to you. And I kind of feel like that's what we need to remember as we're forging forward, as we're putting a strategy together, is right now I think people need the oxygen mask, because there's just it's been a lot.
Right.
I mean, to me, I think that similar to like how we had to get adjusted to taking off our shoes at the airport when we're going through it. It's another thing, but it's another thing that was necessary at the time and still is in some regards. So I think if we kind of put it into their daily work, and like, for instance, you guys have the Handle with Care handoff in your area, which is another thing, but it's another thing that's great. And it's not that cumbersome. And it's something that's going to be helpful for those kids who are coming from those really tough places or who are in the system of care. So I think implementing strategies like speaking about ACEs, speaking about kids who may score high on ACE screenings. When we moved down there to the Central Florida Healthcare facility and starting doing that in the pediatric offices and the adult offices, once things start getting implemented in daily life, then it doesn't become another thing, it becomes a part of life. And so strategically, it's coming up with those small ideas to help support the community in transitioning and looking through the lens of, this is how we need to help support the kids that we work with and the families.
Yeah, I agree with you, Katie, but I think we've got to start with the people who are serving them first.
Mm-hmm.
So, right. So, because we've got to be able to reach the people who are serving our children and families for them to be able to effectively serve the children and families, but they need to be served first.
Right.
So we're talking about, you know, how do we meet the administrators where they're at? How do we meet the teachers where they're at? How do we meet the case managers where they're at? Because once they're cared for, they will be able to more effectively care for those that they're there to serve.
Right. And that's exactly what I'm saying. So if we're looking at how to help them get a better understanding, then how do we equip them with that? Do we?
But I'm not saying they need a better understanding. I'm saying they need to be served. So it's not about equipping them right now. It's about serving them right now.
So addressing
because
their
they're
own
struggling
trauma?
too.
So you're talking about like addressing their trauma and what they're going through.
Yeah. Because if you're dysregulated, right, you can't help somebody else regulate.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's compassion fatigue, and it's their own trauma and their own ACEs. I get that part of it, but there has to be a balance, because life doesn't stop when, as a helper. So we have to try to help them balance the two by still equipping them, but then also making sure that they understand that as a helper, they need to make sure they do some self-care as well.
I think
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, we work a lot in the schools with our program, and within the community, I work a lot with the sheriff's office, the SROs, and the cops unit. And just in dealing with community and dealing with children, there seems to just be an imbalance that has everybody on edge. A lot of people view mental health, all of these different types of screenings, ACEs, all of these things as wonderful tools. There doesn't seem to be a lot of balance to it at times, because we have it where we're introducing it into the community, into young people settings, and it gets confusing. It almost in a way becomes a crutch. Where's the accountability? Where does the line stop? Where does the line cross? And that can be difficult in the schools, because you have teachers that are going, I'm doing everything that I am allowed to do, and I can't get the kids to do what they need to do. They have administration dealing with people over them going, well, if we can't get you to make the kids do this, then this is what's going to happen. Here's those dominoes effects. Not to mention the state's going to continue to throw more things at us to do. Where's the time? No real ability to shut off. They are connected to apps, emails, phones. There was a time period when people were done at work, they went home and they spent time with their family. Now people get off of work and they go home and they grade and they answer emails and they answer text messages. And on top of it, they're also trying to deal with their families. And, a training that I just did, we did the youth mental health first aid. And one of the statistics that was given to us is that families, parents especially, are engaging in real thought out conversation with their children 13 minutes a week. If that. 13 minutes a week. And I told them flat out, I was like, I know it's got to be less for mine, because I've spent half the time repeating what I've asked them to do 1,000 times, then losing my temper about it, then having to go and have a conversation about it. I really feel like almost everyone is in the lurch. And to think that we're not on some level makes it hard sometimes to see the realness that's happening. It's like, oh, well, I'm a teacher, I'm stressed out, I'm overwhelmed, I want to do a good job, but I don't know how to do it because my administration says this, I've got parents saying this, I've got a community standard that says this, and now we're doing these new trainings on top of everything else that's going on. Oh, and I still have to be a parent, an adult, and a human being. And so we just don't seem to have a real balance, like something across the board as a community that says, look, I know that you're going through something, but the reality is that we can't shut down every time we go through something. And because of that, where do we meet that need of what's okay and what isn't? What are those new standards? So it's like somebody's dealing with trauma, there has to be that real conversation, that real communication. But a lot of people are in fear for their jobs. They're like, I'm dealing with something, I'm traumatized, I've got this going on, but I'm not going to say anything because I was either drilled to show up no matter what, or if I say something, somebody's going to come at me and go, well, are you capable of doing your job? Should you be doing this? Should you be doing that? And then the judgment factor sets in. So we may have to look at looking at new forms of policy, not to mention how to meet those requirements of somebody that's dealing with trauma on all levels, whether it be a child, a caregiver, a parent, people in the line of work themselves, but just having that accountability and going, okay, so here's what we can offer that keeps everything moving forward, while at the same time trying to assist, and then opening up the format for real conversation versus, oh, I'm dealing with something, but I'll be fine because I can't afford to lose my job because I'm a single parent, or I can't afford to lose my job because, my wife is sick, or my kid has cancer, or there's always something, right, that's happening within the community. And we don't know where the line stops. We have some young people, I know because I've worked with the school counselors and things like that. We have young people that go, well, I'm depressed today, so that's why I'm not going to do my work. But they see these videos, they see these ACEs, they see these things, but the brain development isn't there. The understanding isn't there. And then the conversation that needs to be followed up by it also isn't there. So then there isn't this mature understanding of, this isn't to say this is what's wrong with you and now you're not capable. This is to go, hey, these people pulled through this. And if you are seeing yourself on that same level or identifying with that, you can also come through that. And that seems to be getting lost on a majority of them. And so I feel like within our community right now, there's a huge just imbalance on a lot of levels and a lot of different branches, especially with first responders and in the schools and dealing with administration all the way up, all the way down.
Michelle, I'm sorry, I jumped on late. Who do you work with?
Heartland Rural Health Network. I'm one of the IMAD instructors.
Amber Lee, I know you had something on your heart too.
Well, I was just going to say the role that I'm an academic coach. It's a new role they have at Lakeview Christian School. And so one of the things that I do, it's kindergarten through 8th grade, and I sit in on parent conferences. And so the reason why Sarah Beth and you invited me to be part of this is because I would call Sarah Beth and say, hey, do you know who does what could do so-and-so in the county? Do you know who does so-and-so in the county? Do you know, when I was at the public school, things were more, it was readily available, I guess I should say. It was just easier access. And so Sarah Beth is telling me little bits and pieces, but what I have realized sitting in all these parent conferences so far, we just finished our first quarter, is kind of what Marissa, what they were saying before is the parents. There's so much struggle and stress with the parents. And so I end up sitting with them and just saying, hey, we got your kid. We'll figure that out. But how can I love on you? What is it that you need to relieve this? Is it that your child needs glasses and your husband doesn't have a job and your grandma had COVID and, you're all living together? I mean, and I say that, it sounds like I'm saying it lightly, but it's just, that is family after family after family that I've sat with, and they need help. They need services so they can be better for their kids. And so while I want the kids to academically succeed at our school, I know that and I just said this at our staff meeting yesterday, and the video that I watched last week just sort of reinforced it. We have got to be compassionate to these parents and these grandparents and these aunts that are raising the kids that are at our school, and pour into them and give them options for services. And so one reason that I'm part of this, I think this is such a great thing, but one of my hopes to get out of it is, okay, Stephanie does this, Tina does this, Michelle does this. These are people that I can reach out to and say, I have a family that needs XYZ. Who, how could I get that the quickest for them? I think a lot of times we have services and all these good intentions, but it's months before, they can get help for things that could really help them. So,
I mean, and that's exactly it, Amber. So it's hard for you to concentrate on how your kid is doing in school when you're trying to figure out what y'all gonna eat tonight, right? And so the basic needs is what we always try to look at. I know at Heartland, when we're engaging with families who don't have a child welfare case. So is that the connections with community? Because that's a big part of it. Do we connect them with Aunt Bertha where they are able to search themselves? Because we want to teach people how to fish and not fish for them, so that when we're no longer there, they understand what their needs are. But you're right, it has to close the circle all the way around and help them sustain on their own before we move into, well, your kid isn't coming to school with a pencil every day. Well, who cares when I don't know where I'm going to sleep tonight? And so again, I think that's a piece of the training and the understanding and equipping the people who work with our families to understand that. So even though we might say, well, they have all these things and now they're using it as a crutch, well, knowledge is power. So how are we making sure that we're informing them, but then also giving them the understanding of how to utilize it to help them and not use it as a crutch? Because if we continue to hide the conversation, then we're running in circles. And so we got to try something different. And in the past, ignoring it hasn't worked.
Well, and I just one more thing, and then I'll stop talking to you. I do think there are so many people in our community. This is a really stupid thing, but I mean, it will seem silly to you all, I'm sure, but we had a handful of kids that didn't have water bottles. And of course, with COVID, we have all these water restrictions and they have to have separate bottles and things like that. And so I just kept ordering water bottles off Amazon. And then I thought, this is so silly. A bank will give us, you know what I mean? And so it's just a phone call. And so it would be great if we knew there are a lot of companies, a lot of businesses, a lot of private people that want to provide things for kids. They just don't know what kids need. Mm-hmm. And so, and sometimes we'll start, like, I was putting Band-Aids. I was like, oh, okay, I'll order them Amazon, click, click, click. And I'm doing it on my computer. And then after ordering about 7, I'm like, wait, hold on. Why don't we just get, you know, we have 156 kids here. So I'm like, let's just, you know, call somebody who I know has water bottles. I mean, I know that's silly, but those are
it's not silly.
It's not. It's thinking outside the box.
Those are the kind of things silly. That parents, you can just say, don't worry about it. We've got water bottles for them.
Mm-hmm. It's not silly for a lot of reasons. It's actually extremely practical and critically important, because as soon as a child is dehydrated, they lose 10% of their brain function right out of the gates, right? And that's as soon as you're thirsty, right? So like something as simple, we think is as simple as hydration in a water bottle, can be radically different in a classroom and in a child's ability to learn, right? But I think you just said it right now, we have an opportunity to educate and equip our community at large about why these things matter, right? They matter and they seem small and they seem simple, but they're not. Like they're actually very critical in being able to move the needle for our kids to be able to learn, but also to understand, and for parents to be able to understand why, when schools are asking for certain things, why it matters, right? Because to a parent, if they don't understand the effects that dehydration have on the developing brain of their child, they're not going to make that connection on their own, right? And so this is where, again, if we have a multi-tiered strategic plan and really trying to say, okay, how do we engage the business community? How do we engage the school district more effectively? How do we go after engaging parents in this conversation? And we look at it from the angle of these different sectors and be intentional about what trainings we're offering, how we're going after it, how we're meeting people where they're at and encouraging them where they're at right now. Like, our teachers don't need to be told that they're not doing it well enough right now, or our administrators that they need to do more. We need to love and encourage them and say, you guys are showing up every day and we are grateful because you're doing the best you can under these circumstances. And then in that, be able to add some of these little pieces in over time, right? So I love what you just brought up, because I think that's exactly it. If people want to do well, they want to see our community thrive. And I think we have an opportunity, because we have knowledge and because we have tools, to be able to help our community do that more effectively. To Kadian's point, right? We want to teach people, we got to teach people to fish. It's not about handouts. It's about truly equipping and informing people and letting them make a big difference.
And Anna's question is about community too, right? So if we have Lobo Ranch who's willing to donate those water bottles or a bed, or the care portal with all the churches in the community who is able to take on a project to help enhance the education at the school, then are you as a helper aware of those services that are available? Do we utilize Aunt Bertha, because it is a platform for all these different organizations throughout Polk, Highlands, and Hardee counties that could be customized to your zip code? So as the helpers, as the school, as the business community, do we know how to make those connections so that we can help? And like you said, the reason you're on this meeting is to make those connections, but how many other people are making that effort to really connect with other people to help strengthen families?
Well said, you guys. Yeah. And I just want to go back to something, you guys. Remember our puzzle pieces? We all play a role in, right, matching these puzzle pieces and making it all work. And if there was one solution to everything, awesome. But it's not. There's going to be a bunch of little pieces that are going to start coming together here and there. And it does take some time. And yes, I wish I had a magic wand and said, we're good, we're done, you know, we're awesome. But it's going to take time, and it's going to be having this conversation and figuring out solutions as we go along. And I know that our guidebook is going to be part of that, where it's going to have resources. And really quick, before I know we only have like 4.5 minutes left. One of the things I had on the agenda today was talking about the inserts, and I also actually would like to divide us up in little groups. For the next month, I would like to assign you guys a group, and it's going to be, one group is going to look at infants and toddlers, one is going to look at children, one is going to look at teens, adults, seniors, and so forth. And I want to hear these ideas. How do we meet the needs of this group in our community, and start breaking it down? In the beginning, when we first started meeting, we had talked about having a specific message for a specific age group, for example. What would that message look like? What is it that the needs look like? How do we meet those needs for that particular group in our community? So really quick, I need your guys' help on this. I need you guys to get involved. Is it okay if I divide you guys up in groups, send out little emails telling you what topic you're going to get, and that you guys come together, if it's on another virtual meeting, in person or via email, but just start tossing out some ideas. And how would that look like if we had, and really quick, you guys, here's our guidebook. I have been working on it, okay? But part of that guidebook, I want to divide up in these different parts. Infants and toddlers, what is the message we want to do? What are the resources? How does that look like? Do I make any sense, you guys, when I say this? Okay, perfect. So if everyone is okay with me doing that, and I'll give you guys a little description on what I'm looking for, that is going to be part of putting that into our guidebook, okay? Our guidebook is a big part of our puzzle. It's going to talk about trauma, everything that goes with it, and not only about the needs, but how to meet those needs and how to move forward, how to heal. On the first page, it says, I'll show you again, so you guys know I am working on it. It says, working together to create a more compassionate society filled with awareness, understanding, hope, and healing. That is what we're working towards. So for adults, that could include teachers, you know, for children, that includes school issues, what are we looking at through school issues and so forth. So I know that's a really quick ending on a really good discussion. And I want to make sure you guys are okay with that step moving forward, where we can have maybe smaller groups discussing a particular area of need. So I will be sending that out to you all and include everyone else that was not on the meeting today to see what we can get out of that. And our next meeting is scheduled for November 10th. So we are not having our fourth meeting on the fourth Wednesday this month. So it's a whole more month until the next meeting. Any questions, concerns, issues that you need to bring up right now for the last minute?
Can I make an announcement?
Yes, Michelle.
The Heartland Rural Health Network and the COPS unit is doing a community kickball tournament November 13th. And part of that is we're doing a give back. So if you know of any organizations like the local food banks or churches that are going to be collecting canned food goods or toys or things like that, can you reach out to them and let them know, because we are going to be collecting at this one event, but our goal is to distribute it out to these other organizations to kind of cut down on their time, to kind of free up their time by having it a part of this event. So that way we can give them stuff and they're not all having to go out and hustle and bustle in the middle of a busy season as well. So our goal is to kind of try and help cut down on that traffic for all these different organizations that do give backs. So if anybody has any questions or wants to be a part of that, get with me, let me know. Yes,
Michelle, this is CJ at the Resource Center.
Hey, CJ.
Send us a copy of that flyer you have.
Absolutely.
Yeah, maybe you can email it to all of us.
I can do that. I can definitely send that out. And Raven is actually heading up the donation give back portion of this for me. So it was nice to hear she was mentioned earlier. So
yeah, and that's a good example on how this group are actually connecting members with each other. So that's wonderful. That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Anyone else that would like to share anything? Teresa?
I have an announcement as well. The Champion for Children Foundation and our Highlands County School Board are now accepting nominations for this year's Champion for Children Youth Awards. So the award ceremony takes place in February. So it'll be February of 2022, but we are accepting nominations through the middle of next month. So if you can, we'll do a Facebook post this week as well. It's on the school board's page, and it's also on the Champion for Children Foundation's website. So you can complete that nomination right there online. But you can get more information through all of those different places. But for you guys to help spread that information, or for any youth that you work with, it really is to celebrate students of any age. So that's kindergartners all the way through 12th grade, and that is private schools, public schools, or homeschool students. So any student age child who lives in Highlands County, please nominate them if they do something above and beyond to serve their community. So that can be serving a fellow student, serving a neighbor, doing something on the larger picture for the community, but just our kids who are already at their young ages doing something to help and serve people around them. We want to celebrate them. So if you'll help us spread the word, we're taking nominations through, I believe, November 9th.
Do you have something that you can send in an email that we could forward on to our network?
Yes, we will email that out. Thank you.
Awesome.
All right, one more thing, you guys, because it's on my agenda. I just want to do a shout out to Natasha and Vicky, because Natasha and Vicky are the only two people that sent me our little homework I sent out last time, you guys. And that was to please send in about 150 words of information about your organization or program that you would like to include in the guidebook, including a quote for, Hope for Highlands and the vision of creating a positive social change in our community. So Natasha and Vicky, thank you very much. And I'm going to send out that again to the rest of you. If you want to be included in that guidebook, please send me stuff, because otherwise I'm not going to hunt you down too many times, you guys. I'm sorry. So I'll send that out again with the group, so I'm going to assign you as well. And please, please, please reach out to me at any time if you have questions, concerns. Hey, can we talk about this next time? I'm open for ideas and anything that we need to do as we move forward, because yes, Marisa, I agree with you. We are in a great we have a great opportunity to move forward and really make a positive impact in our community in many shapes and forms. So let's keep this going and move forward. So I appreciate every one of you. Thank you so much for joining us today, and I will see you in a month, if not sooner. All right. Thank you so much. Take care.